Some buyers get hypnotized by Mazda's interior game and start acting like soft-touch plastic is a maintenance plan. It is not. The real test comes years later, when the payment is old news, the tires have been replaced twice, the seats have taken a beating, and the odometer is climbing into that territory where weak cars start telling on themselves. This is Scott from CarlandTV, and before naming the Mazda, I would actually trust past 200,000 miles. We need to run every model through the one test that cuts through the showroom nonsense. By 200,000 miles, a car has no poker face left. The paint may still shine, the cabin may still look better than the neighbor's RAV4, and Mazda's steering can still give you that little, okay, this thing has some sauce feeling, but the truth is underneath. Engine strain, transmission behavior, suspension wear, oil leaks, electronics, parts cost, and how the car handles boring daily abuse matter more than anything you like during the test drive. Mazda has earned the right to be taken seriously here. In J.D. Power's 2025 Vehicle Dependability Study, Mazda scored 161 problems per 100 vehicles, while the industry average was 202, so this is not just Mazda fans yelling into the internet. That is a strong score, but I still would not treat the whole lineup like one big safe bet, because a Mazda 3, CX-30, and CX-5 do not live the same life once the miles pile up. For this kind of mileage, I want the simple formula. The non-turbo CX-5 Skyactiv G makes 187 horsepower and 185 to 186 pound-feet of torque, depending on the spec source, and it uses a 6-speed automatic instead of a CVT. That matters because it is not some tiny turbo engine dragging a heavy crossover around while a transmission plays guessing games all day. Mazda's 2.5 turbo is way stronger, up to 256 horsepower and 320 pound-feet on premium fuel. But for a 200,000-mile bet, extra heat and boost pressure are not exactly my love language. Give me calm, proven, repeatable, and easy to service. That is the filter. Not the prettiest Mazda, not the fastest Mazda. The one I trust is the one that can deal with commutes, potholes, grocery runs, road trips, bad weather, and average owners, who suddenly remember maintenance only after the dashboard lights up like Christmas. And that is where the Mazda 3 gets interesting, because it has the reliability bones. But long-term ownership is not just about whether the engine survives. The Mazda 3 trap. Compact cars make smart people feel like geniuses for a while. The Mazda 3 is cheap to feed, easy to park, light on its feet, and it does not feel like some sad little rental car with a steering wheel made out of recycled lunch trays. The 2025 Mazda 3 sedan gives you a 2.5-liter naturally aspirated four-cylinder with 191 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque, paired to a 6-speed automatic. That already makes it more interesting than a Corolla, and more normal to live with than a Civic if you hate the whole CVT feel. Then life starts adding weight. Weekend trips where 13.2 cubic feet of trunk space feels less like efficient packaging, and more like punishment with carpeting. The Mazda 3 hatch gives you more flexibility, but the rear seat is still compact car territory. Nobody buys one expecting limousine space, but 200,000 miles is a long relationship, and cramped gets old fast. The part I respect is the mechanical side. The non-turbo 2.5-liter engine is exactly the kind of setup I prefer for long mileage, because it is not forcing boost into the story just to make the spec sheet look spicy. The 2025 front-wheel drive automatic sedan also gets an EPA estimated 27 miles per gallon in the city and 37 miles per gallon on the highway, so it can be genuinely cheap to run if you keep up with oil, tires, brakes, and fluids. Plus, the 2025 Mazda 3 sedan earned an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus rating, which matters because long-term trust includes the people inside it. My issue is not that the Mazda 3 is weak, it is almost the opposite. It is good enough to make buyers overconfident. They see the reliability, fuel economy, safety rating, and sharp handling. Then think, yep, this is the forever Mazda. Maybe. For a single driver, a commuter, or somebody who truly wants a smaller car, I get it. But for the average person whose life keeps expanding while the car stays the same size, the Mazda 3 becomes the one you admire before you replace it. The CX-30 gamble. Then the CX-30 shows up with just enough crossover attitude to make the Mazda 3 feel a little too honest. You sit a bit higher, you get standard all-wheel drive, and the whole thing feels more useful before you even leave the lot. Same Mazda polish, better ride height, easier entry, less compact sedan life. I get why people fall for it. If the Mazda 3 is the sensible friend who meal preps, the CX-30 is the one who buys nicer shoes, and somehow convinces you that it was also a financial decision. The numbers help its case, at least at first. The 2025 CX-30 uses the same basic 2.5-liter naturally aspirated engine family with 191 horsepower and 186 pound-feet of torque, paired with a 6-speed automatic. EPA estimates sit at 26 miles per gallon in the city, 33 miles per gallon on the highway, and 29 miles per gallon combined for the standard engine, which is respectable for a small crossover with all-wheel drive. Safety is strong too, with the 2025 CX-30 earning an IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus rating. So far, no major red flags. It looks like the Mazda 3 learned to sit higher and dress better. My hesitation comes from the actual shape of the thing. The CX-30 is a subcompact SUV, and that word subcompact starts doing push-ups the longer you own it. Cargo space is better than that of a Mazda 3 sedan, but it is still not family hauler generous. The rear seat room remains tight, especially if taller adults or rear-facing child seats enter the picture. You get crossover confidence, but not true crossover space, and that is where some buyers fool themselves. For a 200,000-mile bet, the CX-30 is not a bad Mazda. It is probably a good one, but I do not want probably when I am picking the Mazda. I would keep it until the odometer looks ridiculous. The CX-30 feels like the clever compromise, and compromises have a nasty habit of aging into complaints. That leaves the bigger, older, more proven option sitting there with a much stronger case. The CX-5 case. The grown-up answer usually looks less exciting on paper, which is annoying because the boring one keeps winning. The CX-5 does not need to cosplay as some rugged adventure machine or fake luxury status symbol. It just lands in that useful middle zone where a car can survive daily life without making you negotiate with it every morning. You get the higher seating position people wanted from the CX-30, but with real compact SUV space instead of technically bigger space. The numbers back that up. The 2025 CX-5 gives you 29.1 cubic feet of cargo room behind the second row and 58.1 cubic feet with the seats folded. So now the grocery run, luggage, stroller, dog crate, work bag, and random Home Depot mistake can all exist without turning the cabin into a storage unit with seat belts. The non-turbo 2.5-liter makes 187 horsepower, pairs with a 6-speed automatic, and every 2025 CX-5 comes with standard all-wheel drive. Fuel economy on many non-turbo trims reaches an EPA estimated 26 miles per gallon in the city and 30 miles per gallon on the highway, while turbo trims drop to around 22 miles per gallon in the city and 27 miles per gallon on the highway. For a 200,000-mile pick, I know which side I want. Give me the calmer engine, the conventional automatic, and fewer heat-soaked turbo parts asking for attention later. This is the Mazda that makes the most sense after the new car smell gets evicted. It still drives tighter than a RAV4, feels nicer inside than a CR-V in the same price conversation, and does not punish you with weird packaging like the smaller Mazdas. The CX-5 is also not pretending to be huge. The tow rating is only 2,000 pounds, so nobody should act like it is a truck, unless their truck standards came from a lawnmower brochure. But as a long-haul daily driver, this is the one I would trust, because it has enough space to stay useful and enough mechanical restraint to feel sane. The only catch is ugly and simple. Even the best Mazda can be ruined by lazy maintenance, and that part deserves its own warning before anybody starts shopping with blind confidence. The maintenance tax. A neglected Mazda does not become unreliable overnight. It gets nickel and dimed into stupidity by somebody who treated maintenance like a suggestion from a nosy neighbor. That is the part people hate hearing, because everybody wants the best model. But nobody wants to talk about fluids, tires, brake work, batteries, spark plugs, and the boring little service records that separate a 200,000-mile car from a driveway ornament with leather seats. Mazda's own CX-5 maintenance schedule is pretty clear about this. Under normal use, the 2025 CX-5's oil change system tells you when service is due, and Mazda says to change the oil within 600 miles or 15 days once the wrench indicator comes on. Under severe use, like dusty roads, long idling, short trips, extreme heat, or repeated low-speed driving, the schedule gets stricter. That matters because plenty of owners say, mostly highway miles, while the car has been doing school pickup lines, stop-and-go commutes, and 5-minute errands its whole life. Cute story. The engine knows. All-wheel drive adds another layer. The CX-5 gives you standard all-wheel drive, which is great for bad weather and grip, but it also means tire care matters more. Mismatched tires, lazy rotations, and ignoring uneven wear can create extra stress through the driveline. Then people blame the car when the real villain was a maintenance plan based on vibes and dashboard denial. So when I say I trust the CX-5, I mean a well-kept, non-turbo CX-5 with clean service history, regular oil changes, decent tires, coolant and brake fluid handled on schedule, and no mystery owner nonsense. The badge helps, the drivetrain helps, the 6-speed automatic helps, but maintenance decides the ending. And once that part is understood, the final pick becomes a lot easier to defend. The final pick. My pick is the non-turbo CX-5, and honestly, it is not because it wins every flashy category. It wins because it makes the fewest stupid long-term demands. Give me the regular, too. 5-liter Skyactiv G with 187 horsepower, 186 pound-feet of torque, standard all-wheel drive, and Mazda's 6-speed automatic. That is the kind of setup I want for a 200,000-mile bet. Enough power for daily use, no turbo heat to baby, no CVT weirdness, no oversized ego pretending to be engineering. The Mazda 3 is the one I respect most as a driver's car. It is sharp, efficient, safe, and way more enjoyable than most compact cars that feel like they were designed by accountants during a lunch break. But if I am keeping something for years, I need the car to grow with real life. The Mazda 3's size becomes its ceiling. The CX-30 solves a little of that with standard all-wheel drive and a higher seating position, but it still lives in that subcompact crossover zone, where the cargo area and rear seat can start feeling tight once life gets messy. The CX-5 lands better because it does not ask you to sacrifice as much. You get 29.1 cubic feet behind the second row and 58.1 cubic feet with the seats folded, so luggage, groceries, tools, a dog crate, a stroller, or one of those quick hardware store trips can actually fit without turning the cabin into a puzzle. It still feels more premium than a RAV4, drives with more personality than a CR-V, and keeps the mechanical side simple enough to trust. I would shop for the cleanest non-turbo CX-5 I could find, with service records, matching tires, no warning lights, and no owner story that sounds like courtroom testimony. The badge gets my attention, but the maintenance history gets my money. For me, that is the Mazda I would actually trust past 200,000 miles. And if the next question is which Mazda I would avoid for long-term ownership, that conversation gets a lot less polite.